what's going on, MyGen? It's your dear friend, Brother Jonathan Coicou, and I am here with my lovely wife.
Hello, Miriam Coicou here. We'll be sharing a devotional found in the book of Matthew 2. We'll break down the first half of the story and jump in at verse 22.
All right, so here's the thing about Matthew 2. There's some things that you probably already know. You already know that, you see, Jesus is born in really difficult circumstances. He's born in a city called Bethlehem, which is the city of David, and he's born surrounded by dirty animals. Something that you need to know that stands out, though, even more in Matthew chapter 2, is to the east in Asia, deeper in East Asia, there are wise men, but we know them as the wise men, but they were actually, they were philosophers, they were mathematicians, they were scientists, they studied the stars, they studied the skies, they were astronomers. And these astronomers were very, very familiar with the skies. Their whole life they had studied it. And they knew where this star belongs, and they knew where that star belongs, and they knew where the Big Dipper was and where the Little Dipper was. But one night they look up and they're like, we've never seen that star in the sky. We've never seen that. That thing is new, and we know these skies better than anybody else. This is what we do for a living. We study them. And God in his wise providence spoke to them and say, hey, that's not your average star. And yes, you've never seen that before in the skies, much with all the familiarity that you have with those skies. So God directs them to travel now west. They're coming from the east, going west to Bethlehem. They arrive to Bethlehem. They run into King Herod, and they're like, hey, we've been instructed, right? Because God is leading them the whole way. We've been instructed and informed that there is a king to be born here tonight. And Herod says, these brothers must have lost their mind coming all the way from the east, coming west over here, talking about there's another king who's going to be born tonight. I'm the king. I'm in charge. And now his insecurities, he's in his insecurity. He's like, hey, just find out where that king is and let me know. You know it's not for good intentions. Here's something that's I really love about God. These wise men, these astronomers weren't from amongst God's chosen people. These people were from a land of unbelievers, man, non-believers. And these people really, God spoke to them as well. And he cared for them and he revealed himself to them. And he's doing the same thing today with many non-believers. He's revealing light to them little by little. But before the story gets more interesting, I'm going to turn it over to my wife now.
So after the wise men see Jesus, they worship him, they give him the gifts. In the middle of the night, an angel of God comes to Joseph and tells him you have to get up and go to Egypt, run away because King Herod is jealous that somebody is going to dethrone him. So in order to save Jesus's life, you have to go because he's going to kill all the little boys. So Joseph gets up, no questions asked. In the middle of the night, he grabs his wife, he grabs his baby, and he goes to Egypt. Two main lessons to learn in the journey to Egypt. The first one is obedience, and the second one is providence. Imagine how Joseph must have felt. This man went from being a respected, law-abiding citizen to marrying a pregnant woman, a woman who got pregnant out of wedlock, and now he's a fugitive in a foreign land. As crazy as this story sounds, the most notable part of it is his obedience. Never at one point did he question any of these instructions. He just got up, followed the Holy Spirit, listened to the angels, and went. And the second thing to notice here is also God's providence. Before God instructed him to do anything, he already provided for everything. There are Bible scholars who suggest that part of the money that Joseph used along the way of this unplanned journey actually came from the gifts of the wise men. God knew that he had this crazy plan for them, this crazy journey with all these detours. So he allowed for them to already have and store the things that they would need along the way. And Jonathan is going to continue to tell us where the story ends.
So I'm going to ask my wife real quick to read verse 22 and 23 in Matthew chapter 2, and we'll sort of get a better understanding, and we'll wrap this thing up for you guys.
Okay, verse 22. But when he heard that Herod's son was reigning over Judea instead of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And being warned by God in a dream, he turned aside into the region of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in the city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene.
So let's break this down, right? So Joseph gets the call of his life. God's like, hey, man, I know things have been tough. You had to leave to save your son's life so he can avoid a genocide of newborn babies, literally. And so Joseph's like, awesome. I'm going back to Bethlehem, this great place, the city of David with a great reputation. And God's like, hold on, put a pause on those plans real quick, because yes, Herod died, but his son is still there, and his son has the same mindset as him. So you're going to have to skip over Bethlehem and go to Nazareth. Now, Bethlehem is the place to be. Any normal family man with common sense, and he's responsible now for God's only son, would bring him to Bethlehem. It had a way better reputation. Let's compare. Listen. So, babe, would you rather send your kids to Baltimore public schools or Hollywood schools?
Hollywood schools.
Okay. Would you rather live in the south side of Chicago or in Beverly Hills?
Beverly Hills.
Okay. Would you rather be in a place that had better supermarkets and access to good food, or not so much?
First one.
Okay, so that's sort of how we can compare Bethlehem and Nazareth, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So Bethlehem has better school districts. Do you prefer Bethlehem or Nazareth?
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem, who do you think probably has better hospitals?
Bethlehem.
Who do you think probably has nicer parks and nature?
Bethlehem.
Who do you think has more crime?
Nazareth.
Who do you think has more poverty?
Nazareth.
Okay. Joseph makes a lot of sense. He's like, duh, I'm going to go raise my family in Bethlehem, the city of David, and I come from the bloodline of David. But God's like, nope, we're going to skip over that and send you to Nazareth. Why do you think God says, forget about Bethlehem, you're going to Nazareth?
Well, this brings us to our third and last lesson here. God is interested in building our character. God had a special mission for his son Jesus, which was to save humanity. Putting Jesus in a place like Bethlehem would have done nothing to grow his character, build his strength for what he had to endure in order to save our lives. There's a quote that says, untried character is unreliable. Jesus had to be put in the most severe conditions. There was no place for him to be but Nazareth, where he would be severely tempted and his character would be built to provide him the strength for his mission.
So that helps us understand that a lot of us here, we're just like Joseph. Mm-hmm. We're looking for the situation that looks the best, which is normal. You're human. We want the situation that looks the best. This is what we long for. And we're looking for the Bethlehem situation. You want the job in Bethlehem. You want the house in Bethlehem. You want the connections in Bethlehem. You want the resources in Bethlehem. But God understands that for him to fully develop your character, sometimes he's got to skip Bethlehem and give you a Nazareth experience to save your life, literally. This is an important ingredient or chapter in life that you need for God to truly use you in a special way. He did it for his son, Jesus, and he wants to do it with us. Sometimes we don't get the Bethlehem experience. It's not because God doesn't love us. It's because he does love us, right, and he wants to save us and form our characters.